Let's see if that works. Okay, that works.
Different time, shaking things up a little bit. We've got the mock drafts for you tonight. I will not be participating, so I can make snarky comments, the kind that you love to hear, and look and address your snarky comments. Already getting some of them wondering if we will think DeAndre Swift will bust. I do not think DeAndre Swift will bust. Hoping that's the case anyway. I think he's in a little better position this year. Obviously, has Deuce Staley in his ear, commanding him to play, to understand the difference between pain and injury. But more importantly, I think their offensive line being together will be helpful. There you have it. We're already doing questions. Remember, the Detroit Lions offensive line, best in football. It was not together all last year. We're doing a mock draft tonight, 12 team, 15 rounds, the usual kind of PPR. No, nothing crazy there. Hi, Andrea. The festivities have begun. Jonathan Taylor going out first, as he does in like 99.9% of all the drafts that I have seen. Not unusual at all. So we've got a few people in here that you might know. Scott Kobe is in here, a great high-stakes player, appeared in some of the magazines that we put out at Football Diehards. Emo Cadlick, the publisher of said magazines, is here. And also, Voice and Fuego, who is dominant. He had a great draft in the last mock we did, so hoping he does well as he usually does. And so if you haven't been around, we kind of like to do these on occasion, trying various times to see how things work out, what kind of people can show up, when's a good time. If you want to throw it in the chat and say, hey, this is not a good time for me, or this is a great time for me. Also, hit the subscribe button if you have not already. It's down below me. Hit the like or dislike button. You can dislike me. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm most people's cup of tea or coffee or whatever you like. But thanks for coming, and we'll kind of roll through this. If you have questions throughout, we'll see. I know Emil is using an interesting drafting style that he will write an article about after we're done with this. He's going to draft from our friend ESPN, Mike Clay, does a great job with his rankings and projections. Emil's going to draft based on his cheat sheet or his rankings. So we'll see how this plays out. It might make some interesting picks. Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, my number 2 overall, the guy I would be taking right after Jonathan Taylor. You could make an argument that Christian McCaffrey should be the number 1 back overall. If you're swinging for the fence, if you're drafting for the upside, there's an argument to be made. I don't know if Jonathan Taylor is going to average you the nearly 30 points a game Christian McCaffrey has.
Come on.
I think he's a safer play. But anybody can get hurt. I'm injury agnostic. I do this all the time. You have to mitigate that risk if you go Christian McCaffrey. I think it's a fine pick, Andrea. As you well know, you've been doing this. Who's on auto pick? Come on now. Turn off that auto pick. Aaron Rodgers goes first overall. That is odd. Aaron Rodgers, also known as Cameron Poe. Did I see that wrong? Oh, he had a little error in the picking, so he'll have to ride with that for now. Anyway, the first wide receiver off the board, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. Not a surprise there, seeing Jefferson go ahead of Kupp. See that a fair amount. I see your question, Anthony. I'll get to those. With Jefferson and Kupp, I mean, so like, what do we like about Cooper Kupp? The role, right? The production that came from that role. He had a once-in-a-lifetime season last year. Probably won't have another once-in-a-lifetime season. You know who might? Justin Jefferson, who's been a player on the rise. We all like him. We get that Rams-style offense for him. Kevin O'Connell comes over from Los Angeles, previously the offensive coordinator there. So the expectation is Jefferson kind of plays a similar role. And based on his previous production, wouldn't be outlandish for him to outproduce. Cooper Kupp, if you knock like 20% off his totals from last year, still would have been the wide receiver 1. So he has some room, but thinking Jefferson might surpass him. Najee Harris, great path to workload, very clear. Austin Eckler, I like the upside. Austin Eckler is a running back 1. There's no doubt about it. I'm concerned about touchdown regression, but also Scott Kobe in a PPR knows this. Austin Eckler is going to have value, whatever the touchdown totals are. Emil Cadlick, misfire on the Aaron Rodgers pick. He'll have to make up ground there. Derrick Henry goes next. Joe Mixon, certainly reasonable cases. I think it's interesting to see 3 wide receivers close out round 1. So that's a 5 wide receiver round 1. I don't know if you guys are seeing a lot of that out there. I don't see a lot of that, but I have seen it some, and it's perfectly normal. Davante Adams going from one Hall of Fame quarterback to the other, as he says, which led Aaron Rodgers to say he is going from one Hall of Fame wide receiver in Davante Adams to another in Allen Lazard. Good for him. Anthony wants to know, do I think Russell Wilson will be as productive in Denver as he was in Seattle? I think he will. I think he has a chance to be more productive. I know my friend Eric Moody at ESPN had him on the radio program. If you don't listen to the Football Diehards on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, I would recommend it. It's very enjoyable. 2 hours a night, every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So check that out. Just got done with that program. If you missed it and you have the Sirius app, listen to it on demand. Tara Roberts was our guest tonight. It was fantastic. She's always a great guest, also contributing at footballdiehards.com, where you'll find all our work sitting there waiting for your perusal. If you use the promo code Diehards, yes, you get a 15% discount. So go. All our magazines are out now. The Fantasy Football Pro Forecast in its 33rd year. Football Diehards magazine, some great articles on all these, some evergreen strategy articles, the draft book, the cheat sheets, and of course everything is tied in, gets you premium content on the site, including my Fantasy GM, which is very convenient for people like me who manage way too many teams, and for people like you who are in just the right amount. So you're seeing this, Andrea, in other leagues, the taking wide receivers, the 5 going in the first round. That's like, we're up to 8 wide receivers gone in the first 2 rounds, -1 pick. So let's run through the second round. This makes perfect sense, seeing Travis Kelce go off, the first non-receiver, non-running back. We're dismissing Aaron Rodgers, a misfire. So Travis Kelce coming off the board. He just got a raise today. Good for him. Look, he's been as consistent, gives you as consistent leverage over the field at his position as anyone in the game right now. It's just been phenomenal over the course of time in Kansas City. Don't think that slows any with Tyreek Hill out of the picture. I mean, I'm not trying to, be dismissive of what Tyreek Hill's accomplished, but he does go to a new place. There are questions about his quarterback. I think it's perfectly reasonable for me. I feel pretty comfortable drafting Mike Evans, who is annually good for 1,000 yards, has double-digit touchdown ability. So I like him there as well. Mark Andrews, I have no problem with him going. I think that's where you're going to find him in almost every draft that I'm in, especially if I'm in it. I'm drafting in that spot, you'll find him. We'll have to refresh my screen a little bit so I get a little better view here. There we go. So Leonard Fournette, apparently, Todd Bowles not worried about that bit of weight. Just talked to Joey Knight of the Tampa Bay Times on tonight's radio program. He is not concerned. He thinks it's kind of been overblown. He thinks Fournette will lose weight. I guess, the problem for me, Mike Dempsey and I talked about this on the radio tonight. This is like not the old days when, players went out and delivered beer or sold insurance or whatever in the offseason. This is kind of a year-round thing. And, being in good shape, especially after you get paid, there's something to be said for that. That said, Leonard Fournette is pretty much locked in the running back one. Joey Knight did say that he is impressed with Rachaad White, the rookie running back who has a pretty good skill set. But I think what he does not have, and he'll have to earn, and he may be able to, but what he doesn't have right now that Leonard Fournette has is the most important thing to have in Tampa Bay, the trust of one Tom Brady. Tom Brady needs people to be where he wants them to be when he wants them to be there. And I think Fournette, a lot of his numbers came from dump-offs. There's no doubt about it. But being that kind of safety valve for Tom Brady, big deal. 69 catches last year. Remember, he had 76 in 2019 in Jacksonville. So he is capable enough of a receiver and can do enough as a runner, especially at the goal line. Saquon Barkley's an interesting pick to me. 13th running back off the board. We are investing an awful lot, I think, in general, in the notion that Brian Daboll is going to fix the New York Giants. And he may well, right? I mean, it's a low bar. They scored, I think, the 31st fewest touchdowns. What do they have? 24 touchdowns scored last year, 23 on offense, right? They were average 15 points a game. It's a low bar for the Giants. They're going to be better. We think they're going to be a lot better, and I think this goes with Brian Daboll, who has put together, built the #1 passing attack the last 2 seasons in Buffalo with a quarterback who, when he was drafted, was not believed to be accurate. People were not as high on Josh Allen then as they are now. So comes to New York, has Daniel Jones. I think that the key here is, a totally uncreative offense that Jason Garrett ran in New York. This is going to be better. The question for me is how much better. Saquon Barkley, I have concerns about him based on just as I watch him, I don't see the same explosive player as he was as a rookie, right? I mean, we see him get the volume. Look, maybe he can regain some of that. Maybe all he needs is an upgrade. And they did upgrade the offensive line as well, upgrade the play calling. So a lot to like in that regard, but I'm still thinking we're getting a little high. There are running backs going off the board after Barkley that I feel more comfortable with. I like James Conner an awful lot. I think I'd feel more comfortable with some of these other players. And look, maybe you're playing for the upside, and I get it. If that's the case, and adding Deebo Samuel there, there's a lot to like about this. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, and maybe just having Jonathan Taylor makes it a little easier to take that chance with your running back too, right? Sometimes roster build matters. How you construct your roster, how much risk is built into your roster. I talk about this all the time. You can have risk in your roster without having a risky roster, right? That's, so maybe Saquon Barkley has a little wider range of possible outcomes than I like. Jonathan Taylor's pretty much, evens the playing field there for you, as does Deebo Samuel. So that's a great start. Let's look at some of the starts for these teams. Andrea has Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, DK Metcalf. Metcalf has reported to training camp, is not practicing, holding in. That's the new game the kids are playing. Deebo Samuel doing the same thing. Deontay Johnson doing the same thing. The difference between Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, and Deontay Johnson is Deebo Samuel, they're working on a deal. John Lynch has talked about it. It's going to happen. Whatever the time frame is, he'll be in. Now, players don't hold out anymore because it's cost prohibitive to hold out. Why is it cost prohibitive? Because the fines stick. You can't rescind the fines. So you're getting fined $50,000 a day. If you're Deebo Samuel, that's going to eat up your $4 million salary pretty damn quick. Usually in the past, these things have been forgiven. They can't be forgiven anymore. So that's why you're seeing players show up and not working out. TJ Watt did it in Pittsburgh last year. Deontay Johnson's doing it there this year. From what I've heard from the local beat writers that we talk to on the radio program, Steelers are ready to let him walk next year. And if he doesn't walk and they keep him and they find some kind of a more affordable deal, and like Deontay Johnson has a pretty good argument. It's every bit as productive as some of the guys getting paid bigger money right now. You think of Terry McLaurin, guys in that same group. His numbers hold up really well against him, and it's fair to wonder if Mitchell Trubisky, or Mitch as he likes to be called now, doesn't give him a little more upside than Ben Roethlisberger and the noodle arm he finished his career with did. So either way, I don't think he's going to get his deal, Deontay Johnson. I don't know if DK Metcalf, I've heard no talk at all about DK Metcalf getting a deal yet. Been some talk about maybe possible trade, not from just, the usual assortment of kind of vague reports, nothing concrete. So Andrea adds Mike Williams to that. Like that. I worry about DK too. Andrea is saying she does. The quarterback, the locksmith. Is it Drew Lock, Geno Smith? With Geno Smith last year, the production was reasonably good, right? I mean, he had one big game and then some reasonable other games. I know Michael Sean Dugar from The Athletic, kind of did the math. And, if you put those 3 games out, it's not ideal. You put those 3 games out over the course of the season, it would have been similar to his, career averages. Don't know if we can expect that. Mike Williams, though, remember early last year, this will be like a 3 wide receiver, I believe, Adam, with a flex as well. So 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. Correct me if I'm wrong, Emil, in the chat for me, but I believe that is the case. But anyhow, so Mike Williams is a guy who started out last year playing at wide receiver 1 level, right? Early in the season, he was a dominant force. Can he carry that over further? I believe it's possible. He's paid to do so. One of the wide receivers making some money this offseason, so entirely possible. So I like that start. the 3 running backs. So it is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Pretty usual fare. We're going to do some more of these. We do some of these on Saturdays. I do my Ask Me Anythings, but we're going to work some in throughout the coming weeks in the daytime and the evenings and give everyone a chance to get in on the fun and see what's going on here. So Mike Williams, though, I do like. So let's look at a rounder. 740, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, Allen Robinson. I like that team. Those are good players. I mean, Alvin Kamara is the question mark there because of the off-field issue. Facing assault charges in Las Vegas from the Pro Bowl weekend. Entirely possible the resolution of that case could be pushed out to next year. We just don't know. August 1st will be a big day. He has a hearing scheduled. Talk to Drew Davenport, the guy who knows a lot about these things, handles the legal stuff. Follow him on Twitter if you do not, and you get a great, he's a lawyer, also works at footballguys.com, and he is really on point in his analysis of these situations, and it's entirely possible. The league does not like to punish players for ongoing criminal issues until those are resolved. It's possible this case could be pushed out beyond next year. If that's the case, you get Alvin Kamara, a player. There are guests drafting. People are in the room drafting. You can see we had listeners and callers and people on Twitter come in. 3 of the staffers, or 2 staffers here, Emo Cadlick, Scott Kobe appeared in our magazine, and Voice and Fuego, who is a regular on these things. So yes, these are guests drafting throughout. And we do this. We put these out. If you're a subscriber at Football Diehards, you usually get an email that lets you jump into these drafts. Otherwise, I put them out on my Twitter feed at Football Diehard. We put them out on the company's Twitter feed at FF Diehards. So Adam would love to get you in on some of these in the future. So watch for them. Follow me on Twitter. Follow at FF Diehards, but also hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and you will get notifications when we're going live with these drafts. Anyhow, Alvin Kamara, you might end up having running back 1, output here. If he's there for the whole year and healthy, be really good. We've seen most of his value in the past has come from his receiving numbers. Last year, his rushing numbers were phenomenal, heavy usage. J.K. Dobbins, look, there's some risk in this lineup in both Kamara and Dobbins. Dobbins open camp on the PUP list, and his knee injury was a little more complicated than Gus Edwards, but it sounds like both have a good chance. Dobbins has said, I'll be there week 1, so we'll see. Allen Robinson, another player who could give you wide receiver 1 numbers any given week. Getting him in the 5th round seems like a great deal to me. Looking at the next team, Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill, James Conner, Travis Etienne, Elijah Mitchell, and Kyler Murray. I like all these teams. You people are doing a fantastic job. The Kupp-Hill combo is great. You get the high, the consistent high-end production. You get Tyreek Hill. You get the super high-end production some weeks. Maybe it's inconsistent, but you're going to get those high-end weeks and maybe have some quieter weeks. So you've got Kupp there to kind of level the field there. I love James Conner. I have him ranked inside my top 10, where he finished last year. I know someone's yelling at me out there, don't draft last year's best team. That's always one of my catch lines. Yes, but draft last year's best players if you think they're going to be the best players again. And why would I think James Conner is going to be that? He has a clearer path to workload. And if you look at some of the work out there, you'll find that span where Chase Edmonds was not there. Conner was as productive as any back in the NFL from fantasy purposes, right behind Jonathan Taylor over that span. So I like that starting off a lot. Travis Etienne, a little bit of concern now that James Robinson is available, or looks like he'll be available. Didn't open camp on the PUP list. That's got to be a little bit concerning for people invested in ETN. Elijah Mitchell, also the reporting from Matt Maiocco of NBC Sports that he believes the Niners will be doing more of a running back by committee approach. Look, I think they kind of always do. We'll see if they, like Elijah Mitchell was very good. Averaged 14 points per game in PPR last year. In the 11 games he was healthy, it was fantastic. But he tends to get a little beat up and comes off knee surgery this offseason, or minor cleanup, I would say, more so than surgery. So still, I like Elijah Mitchell at this price and as your running back 3, especially with a rock-solid starter, James Conner. Kyler Murray, something to like there. As long as he does his studying, I want to make sure Kyler Murray puts in a good 4 hours a week, minus the video games, on his game plan. I bet he will. Look, that's all very funny and enjoyable story, but you have to wonder, how everyone feels now that it's out. If they would have preferred this to not be out there in the public domain. It doesn't speak highly of Murray. It doesn't speak highly of the team, right? Like just all the way around. How do you enforce that? You have someone sitting at Kyler Murray's house, or is the tablet watching him to make sure he's not looking away from the tablet? How do you monitor that? There's a lot of money on the line there, right? $100+ million in guaranteed money that could go away. Playing Madden does not count as studying, Scott. Adam, I just keep seeing Jefferson drafted in front of Cup, despite consensus rankings. So I think, at the high end of drafts, I mean, first round, you get one pick in the first round. If if you're picking third overall, you're never going to have another chance at Justin Jefferson. If you like him, I think it's very defensible taking him. If you are drafting first overall, I mean, and you really like that player, that's the only chance you're going to have to get him, right? So most people take Jonathan Taylor, but there have been a few drafts where I see other players go. And that's because that's how it works in the first round. I don't think it's a trend necessarily, but I do see it a fair amount. Just as a general rule, Adam, I see Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Jamar Chase being the top 3 running backs. In fact, the order of these top 5 here that we see going in the first round, generally the order that I see, whether Kupp or Jefferson go first. But once you get past them, it's Chase, Diggs, and Adams for the most part. And I see CeeDee Lamb going a lot in this spot that he's going as the 6th wide receiver. Some people like him even more than that. So totally understandable. Let's look at Voice and Fuego, a player who has impressed me with previous drafts. Let's see if he's impressing me here. Najee Harris, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins. I ended up in a draft today, a super flex draft with T. Higgins as my wide receiver 1. Antonio Gibson, Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Drake London. This is an interesting team. Antonio Gibson starting camp, not practicing, has a hamstring. It's been lingering apparently. I don't know. Antonio Gibson worries me a little bit. The addition of Brian Robinson, but whether I'm concerned or not, the numbers are the numbers, and he's been very productive. 21 touchdowns over the course of his career so far, 1,800 rushing yards. So he's finished better than this in each of the last 2 years. So my concerns about him notwithstanding, he's been pretty damn productive. Patrick Mahomes, I'm told, is very good. I think this is an interesting build because Patrick Mahomes, we all know the upside, right? The defenses forced him to play a little differently last year, but you're getting him as the 4th. Again, the Aaron Rodgers pick was a little errant, misfire by Elo Catholic. So let's say you got him as the 3rd, 4th quarterback. I mean, this is where you're going to have to pay to get him. I have him ranked in this spot, but there are concerns. Like, we don't have the receiving core. Tyreek Hill's gone. We'll see if Marquez Valdez-Scantling can become that deep threat. But teams started playing him with those 2 high safeties last year. The deep kind of limited the deep ball and forced him to throw a little shorter routes, more intermediate routes, play with a little more discipline. It wasn't his best season. It was a little up and down. So hopefully he can rebound. But he is Patrick Mahomes. He's very good. Between he and Andy Reid, I think they'll cobble something together. Whatever the receiving core is, and maybe somebody emerges. And I like MVS at the price he's going at. A lot of arguments for Juju Smith-Schuster, who is likely to play in the slot. That spot has been very good for him. In the last 2 seasons, he's been fully healthy. He's combined for like 200 catches in Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger and not Pat Mahomes. So look, there's optimism. I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another guy. I mean, you're kind of making a little bit of a stack there. Edwards-Helaire opened camp on the PUP list, lasted 1 day, like Michael Thomas. And here we go. Here we start making some hay with Drake London, a player I like an awful lot. Marcus Mariota put in as the starting quarterback today, and Dallas Goedert. So this is interesting. I want to see where it goes. Kobe here has got Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery. Great 3 running back start. I hear the 0 RB people out there laughing at them. Look, there's many ways to build a team. I'm not against this. I haven't been doing as much of this lately, and maybe I'm going to try it in some more of my drafts going forward, the 3 running back start. I think the receivers you're getting here, Scott, are fantastic. Jalen Waddle, look, he's not going to catch 100 passes. Maybe he catches 90, right? Maybe he does a little more of yards per catch. Brandon Cooks, I think, is going to give you wide receiver 1 weeks on occasion. Been super productive, even with a lousy range of quarterbacks. Been pretty productive no matter what. Every season, I think the 2 seasons he's missed 1,000 yards. One of them he was fighting with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods at their best for touches, and another one he had a concussion. Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver 1 for the Chicago Bears. We'll see how that works out. Zach Ertz is a player I love, and I'm drafting a lot. 7th round. I mean, this is the spot where I'm drafting him. I like him right after Hawkinson. Some people like Schultz a little better. I'd maybe let someone take Schultz, and then I start looking for Zach Ertz myself. Kareem Hunt, interesting. So then Scott went ahead and took Jalen Hurts. My co-host on Sirius, Mike Dempsey, thinks he is the quarterback. What does he have? Quarterback 4, I believe. Ranks him very highly. I heard of glowing reports from the training camp, the opening of training camp today. I think very exciting is the fact that Nick Sirianni, on the shirt he wore today, had a big picture of Jalen Hurts, foreshadowing where this is going. So Emo Catholic was going to use Mike Clay, our friend from ESPN's rankings, to do this. Had a misfire with the first pick, but I think he's back on track. Javonte Williams, A.J. Brown, Deontay Johnson, T.J. Hawkinson, A.J. Dillon, Kareem Hunt, Russell Gage, and James Robinson, who did not open camp on PUP. We'll see how that plays out for him. I mean, does that mean he's going to be ready to go full speed early on? We don't know yet. Sounds like he'll be ready maybe for more work in the middle of August. Does this keep Travis Etienne from getting his opportunity to secure a feature role? Look, he was very good at Clemson, right? Super productive, high volume player, scored a ton of touchdowns during his career there. You think if maybe he got a chance to establish himself, it's almost like during an in-game session, you see the hot hand. Who's the first running back? Well, he gets the first chance to be the hot hand. Is Travis Etienne going to be that guy? It's going to be interesting. Andrea liked either Schultz or Ertz. I think that's where I'm at, right? I'm usually waiting. Like, Schultz is the trigger point for me. If I see Schultz go, I think I better get Ertz if I'm going to get them. I'm in the 105. Troy Olson says 105. You're in. Okay, I got it. Explain that to me, Troy. You're in the draft or you're in the 105? What is that? 1.05. Help me out. I'm not understanding because I'm not very bright. Emo, as I said, so Kareem Hunt, guy that just always outproduces his ADP annually. So we'll see what happens with James Robinson. Is he going to play? If he plays, I mean, you go back to March at the owners' meeting. What did Doug Peterson say about James Robinson? He's a 3-down back, right? They're going to have to figure out a way to use these two guys together. I don't think we see a plan similar to what Urban Meyer had in plan for Travis Etienne, using him as like a chess piece, kind of a movable complementary piece. I think he wants to use him as a more regular piece, but don't forget how good James Robinson has been. Ramondre Stevenson goes next, a guy with some upside as well. If you're drafting running backs later, I like these later running backs that are looking really good. Thank you, Ramondre. Gate pick there, says Troy. So the next team up, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, starting off. I like that. If this was a standard league, I would be going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over this. That's probably dating me. It's an old thing. Cocoa Puffs. It's cereal. Keenan Allen giving you a steady, consistent producer, maybe one of the most consistent higher-end producers in the NFL in terms of fantasy receiving numbers. George Kittle, a tight end, so good. He might be too good. He's such a good blocker. He doesn't run as many routes as you like, but we've seen the high end for him. I think there's no world where I would not take him in the top 5. I like Waller a little better, but I get why you would take Kittle there. Miles Sanders, the guy who told us not to draft him. Don't draft me. I think that's because he doesn't like taking crap from people who get upset when he doesn't produce as expected. A lot of talk about Kenneth Gainwell playing more of a role there, but I do think Miles Sanders is the lead option here as your running back 3 is good. Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow. Look, you can take some chances. You've got Cooper Kupp, super high-end, consistent producer. If you want to take some chances, we don't know what Amari Cooper is going to do with Jacoby Brissett as a starter, or maybe better with Deshaun Watson. We don't know how that's going to play out, but I think playing the upside there, you have a little bit of a little bit more leeway to do that when you have a producer like Keenan Allen. Same with DeAndre Hopkins. You're going to need somebody to produce early in the season until Hopkins gets back. Maybe that's Hunter Renfrow. I don't think his role goes away. Maybe it's diminished somewhat, but boy, he has a really good red zone connection with Derek Carr. Like that, Dameon Pierce, the guy we think will be the starting running back for the Houston Texans. If not to start the year, pretty short order. I mean, I talked to John McClain, used to work for the Houston Chronicle for many years, has covered the Texans for 30-some years. He's been covering NFL and the Texans since they joined the league. And he is not impressed with Marlon Mack. And he is impressed with Dameon Pierce, and it makes sense that he's got to be the guy that they move into the lineup. It's just a matter of when. Dak Prescott, another great pick. I like him an awful lot, maybe more than some of the players that have already gone. But kind of like in the same range as Russell Wilson, Tom Brady. I kind of have them in that tier, right outside the top 5. So I like that pick as well, and we'll see what Darrell Henderson can do. Might need some help to have a role. Let's see what Eric has here. Eric, good now. Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook. Wow, Dalvin Cook. That's as late as I've seen him go, I think. And look, this offense is going to be not as run heavy, but that does not mean Dalvin Cook won't be busy. And maybe a little less work between the tackles will keep him a little healthier. I have a lot of optimism about the Vikings offense. They think they have a great quarterback in Kirk Cousins who can run that offense. Some good pieces on the outside, and Thielen and that guy Justin Jefferson. But I think Cook is. I think that 1-2 punch at running back. I have not seen that a lot. I think that's a great start to the draft. Michael Pittman and DJ Moore, great example. DJ Moore, another guy who you can get that super steady high-end production. Doesn't score all the touchdowns or hasn't, but touchdowns are a weird number, can change at any time. Same with Michael Pittman, didn't score all the touchdowns. Second round Dalvin, surprising to me. I like it. Wish I got that. Michael Pittman drew a 24% target share last year, 31% down the stretch when it mattered most. Didn't get as many red zone targets as I wanted to see, but maybe he gets a little more of that this year. But man, pairing him up with DJ Moore, I think is a great start. Lamar Jackson, you got no complaints from me. You hear people, it's fair to wonder, is this offense going to be as good? We've got issues with the running backs to start the season. Marquise Brown's gone. They have a lot of faith in Rashad Bateman, but not a lot of depth at wide receiver. That's kind of been the norm. So I don't think it's a big deal because Mark Andrews is still there, and Lamar Jackson can still run. Marquise Brown, Arizona, opened on PUP. A little surprise there. Has a little tweaked hamstring. That's something to watch over time. Rashad Bateman to hook up with Lamar Jackson, kind of like this. I like the way this one's playing out. How can every team be one I like? Cordero Patterson, I think this late in the draft, fine play. Kadarius Toney, tons of upside. Talked a little bit about it. The Giants were hoping that Brian Daboll makes this offense better. If he does, Kadarius Toney will be one of the people who benefit. We've seen the upside of him. We saw it in Dallas last year. We saw the entire range of outcomes for Kadarius Toney. Got 10 passes for 189 yards and got kicked out of the game for punching somebody in the head. Go figure. I like this build, Pat Freiermuth. I think he's going to come on. No Eric Ebron there to cut into the target share. And that was the one thing that was lacking. Hasn't rolled in the red zone. Julio Jones, I think it's too early for Julio. We'll see. He's going to rise up at ADP. Just talked to Joey Knight from the Tampa Bay Times earlier tonight. He sees him as maybe kind of like what did he call him? Like a really big name insurance policy in case somebody else gets hurt. Will he move ahead of Russell Gage? Don't know that he will. Not sure. Todd Bowles talked about him helping fill the void for Rob Gronkowski. They also brought in Kyle Rudolph, who maybe will have a significant role as a well-rounded player, a great end zone player. They're trying to cover for the Gronkowski touchdowns that are going away. And if that's the case, that's not been Julio Jones' lane. He is not a great scoring threat, or has not been. Maybe that can change. Maybe Tom Brady can fix that. So not against it this late in the draft. Just I think for me it'd be a little high. Gus Edwards going next. Do like that pick an awful lot. Gus Edwards, all he does is average 5 yards a carry. If you think of the two guys, his was reportedly a clean ACL tear, whereas J.K. Dobbins was a more complicated injury. Maybe fair to wonder if Edwards isn't ahead of him. So let's go to team number 10 here. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Kyle Pitts, Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, Joe Burrow. I like that. This is a great start. Devin Singletary. I like that too. I like Elijah Moore and Chase Claypool. This draft's off to a great roll. You get Michael Carter, the other part of that Jets backfield in case something happens. J.D. McKissick, Mark Ingram. Taking a flyer on Ingram this late in the draft, I am not against it all. If something does come up with Kamara, what if the videotape was released? Oh my gosh. That will change the dynamic for the NFL's desire to punish him quickly. So who knows? But I mean, thinking Mark Ingram might have an opportunity is not crazy at all. So this is a great start for a team that started out with 2 wide receivers and Kyle Pitts. That's a fantastic draft. Snow Coog wants to know, do I like drafting 2 running backs from the same backfield like Walker and Penny, or just choosing one and using that pick for a stab at a different backfield? I think it depends. If I'm drafting a true, pairing somebody up as a handcuff, I want it to be a little later play. But like if you're talking about Penny and Walker, it's not unusual to see them go like in the 8-9 turn in some drafts. I'd prefer it in best ball where I don't have to decide every week which of them I'm going to play, because I feel like inevitably I'd be starting the wrong one every week and be kicking myself in the tail because of it. But no, I don't think it's a horrible idea. Probably, again, prefer it in best ball, have seen, but I see a heck of a lot of it in regular redraft leagues as well. So I think, you just set yourself up for that problem. At some point, you're going to have a decision to make, and are you going to make the right decision, and how angry are you going to be at yourself the weeks you don't? So let's look at ball changer. I can't quite read that. Sorry, it's a little small on my screen. Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Justin Herbert. Oh, I see what you're saying, Troy Wilson. Yeah, I think it's an interesting team. Look, man, I'm not, Voice of Fuego is an interesting drafter who has done quite well in these drafts. So, yeah, picks that I wouldn't make, that does not mean they are not good picks, right? So I think it's a great start at the top of the grade. Like I said, I had T. Higgins. I have concerns about him as my wide receiver 1, but probably should not. I mean, we've seen offenses in the past, high-end offenses support 2 wide receiver 1s. It happens all the time. I mean, I could throw out examples of them as recently as the Rams, but it does happen a lot. Antonio Gibson is not my personal favorite, but again, he's been highly productive. Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think this is a convoluted backfield, but is the range of possible outcomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire being the leading piece of that backfield? Absolutely. So, yeah, there's things I like there as well, Troy. So let's go back to Team 11. So I like to start Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, Justin Herbert, Juju Smith-Schuster, Gabriel Davis, guy who's been I think his current NFFC ADP is up to 24. Boy, are we drafting heavily? I think this is a fair price for him. I like him as a wide receiver 3, less so as a wide receiver 2. Devontae Smith as a wide receiver 4, phenomenal value there. James Cook. Look, he's going to have receiving equity. He's a guy that keep you from getting to 0 any given week. Maybe he gets more. Maybe if Devin Singletary doesn't pan out like I think he will, and I think he's fine. Devin Singletary is a guy, one of my more heavily invested in players. Treylon Burks, great practice today. Who needed a great practice more than him? It had been a rough offseason up to this point. The asthma and the lack of conditioning, all that talk. Look, we know how this works, right? Remember last year in August when Jamar Chase couldn't catch the football? All right, I rest my case. So we'll see what Treylon Burks turns into. Isaiah Spiller. Look, the Chargers have swung and missed on that complimentary back to Austin Eckler each of the last 2 years. Joshua Kelly, Larry Roundtree the third last year. So it's entirely possible. I mean, I saw Isaiah Spiller in a lot of the pre-draft rankings ranked as high as the 3rd running back, right? So it's interesting to see if he cannot become that Melvin Gordon type complement that the Chargers have been looking for to work alongside Austin Eckler. Totally possible. 9 spot looking very good. I do not disagree. I like the 9 spot an awful lot. Scott Kobe thinks Julio is going to rise up drafts. Oh, I grant you that, Scott, but should he rise up in drafts? Should he? Is that a good idea? So we'll see. Team 12, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen. Ooh, this is good. This is our 0 RB champion here. I like this. I like this. It's interesting because, like, I'm not all in on Chase Edmonds, but look at the pieces you have here: Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Josh Allen, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Judy. Whether you like Judy or Sutton better, I think both these wide receivers I think are going to be better in this offense going forward with a competent quarterback. Russell Wilson is that, if not more. I agree with you, Scott. Scott Covey says no. Julio should not rise up, and I don't think he. I don't think he should. Normally, I like him better as like a late round flyer in best ball because there are going to be weeks where they get him that kind of usage. So interesting to see. And this has been a great draft. You guys always come into these mock drafts and get down to business, get them done quickly. So I'm going to finish rolling through this. So Tony Pollard, a lot of people like Tony Pollard. I still think Zeke is the primary back, and that's not going to change unless he's hurt. But Pollard can be a weekly contributor. Rashad White, again, talk to Joey Knight about him. Joey Knight seems to like White. Thinks he has a little more than on the ball than when Keyshawn Vaughn showed up with a little better, has a little more receiving chops than maybe Leonard Fournette even. So we'll see. What he doesn't have is the trust of Tom Brady, but maybe he gains that. Tyler Algier, a player I like an awful lot, who could be your starter, as The Athletic reported this week. Could well be. Michael Rothstein reported this for ESPN when the draft happened, said the range of possible outcomes for this guy is fifth round pick. He might not make the roster. Also, he might be the starter. So Rondale Moore, not without upside. Darrell Williams, Josh Palmer, Dallas Cowboys defense. My favorite fantasy defense right now is the Dallas Cowboys defense, and Younghoe Koo. So I want to not get too deep into the kicker. So interesting drafts for everybody involved. Boy, if I'm picking a team right now, I think it's this Mixon, Cook, Pittman, Moore, Jackson, Brown, Bateman, Patterson, Tony, Freiermuth. I think I'll go ahead and throw in the comments. High on Pollard, but he's getting too rich for me. I agree with that. I think it is. Thanks, Bowie Rocks. Appreciate it. Go ahead and put in the comments the teams that you think are best. What team did you like best? I wanted to mention again, Emo misfired on his pick 1. There was some cockpit error there, and it ended up with Aaron Rodgers. But the rest of this, he wanted to try drafting based on ESPN's Mike Clay's rankings, and he does appear to have stuck with that. So we'll look at that. He'll have an article on that on the site, so you should check that out. You should go to the website. It's called footballdiehards.com. We published all our magazines. They're out there. You can order them on the website. The Fantasy Football Pro Forecast at its 33rd season. The Football Diehards magazines, cheat sheet, and draft book, all available for sale on the site. You buy the magazine, you also get access to the premium service on the website. If you just want the premium service on the website, go use the promo code DIEHARDS. Get 15% off of anything you order, so any of the online services you order. And so do that. Also, you can listen to me. I'm Bob Harris, by the way. Adam Kahn. I also like the One Spot. This one was great. Thank you. I enjoyed it too, Adam. The One Spot, I always like the One Spot team, right? Even if I don't like I said, Barkley, I'm not sure I'm taking a chance on him, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you have Jonathan Taylor there. I love that. I like the wide receivers he got there. Deebo Samuel, Cortland Sutton. Comes back and gets Darren Waller, player I love. Damian Harris. Draft all the Harrises, people. That's a great play. Like a lot of his value is based on touchdowns last year. I don't think he'll get as many touchdowns, but I do think he'll be the leading component there. Chris Godwin did not start training camp on the PUP list. There's something to be said for that, right? I mean, that was kind of a little bit of a surprise today. Tom Brady to pair up with him. A little bit of a mini stack there. You got to like that. As Robert Woods, for me, the de facto wide receiver 1. So Bowie Rocks, well, great, man. Watch the Twitter feed, watch your emails. You'll be getting emails. But Robert Woods, I think, might be the de facto wide receiver 1. We'll see if Treylon Burks develops a little bit. For me right now, though, I kind of prefer Woods. Unless I'm playing for, swing for the fence, playing more Burks. Woods being the steady Eddie there. Michael Gallup at some point will be back. And until he's not, Jalen Tolbert is. So nice draft there from the One Spot. What else did people like? Scott Kobe, I like Team 3 a lot. Getting Lance that late is great value. Yeah, Trey Lance. Again, Mike Dempsey, co-host on Football Diehards. You can listen to that radio program named after the website because it's our show. Mike Dempsey on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. the Trey Lance, he has him like his quarterback 7. A lot of rushing equity. We saw a couple games last year where he came through and played reasonably well. Kind of improved from the first half to the second half. I think that's encouraging for a rookie coming in that was kind of raw. Sure, he worked on his fundamentals. So team 3, Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara, J.K. Dobbins, Allen Robinson. Boy, there's nothing not to like. Then he got the Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny. A little earlier than I've seen it go, but that's okay. You've locked that up. Alan Lazard, according to Cameron Poe, also known as Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard, a future Hall of Famer. If you missed that today, Devontae Adams said it was great going from one Hall of Fame quarterback to another, meaning from Rodgers to Carr. So Rodgers today, who, if you missed it, showed up for training camp as Cameron Poe from Con Air, Nick Cage character. It's phenomenal work by him. He's great at trolling. He comes out and he says it's great going from one Hall of Fame wide receiver, Devontae Adams, to another, Alan Lazard. So we'll see. So Lazard, Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, so he's kind of locked up some of the outlier, I don't want to call them even outliers, but, not the top of the depth chart, but guys with hopes. And that Kansas City passing attack, look, it could be any of them, right? We just don't know. Trey Lance, though, that's a phenomenal pick. I love that pick. We'll see if Alec Pierce comes through in Indianapolis, maybe a red zone threat. Tyler Badie with a possible opening of possibly could open on open camp on the PUP list. We'll see if they make it back for the regular season. David Njoku is a tight end I like an awful lot, regardless of the quarterback. I think a potential breakout. Waiting very late to get him, but I do like that play. Troy Olsen, I'm not a Rodgers fan, but that was some great shade. It was phenomenal. Thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate that. Team 2, Andrea wants to know, because that's Andrea's team. Let's take a look. Look, you got Christian McCaffrey, Andrea. You know how I feel about that team. Love it. But I like the start. Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott. I think you could have 3 players producing at wide receiver or running back 1 levels every single week, and certainly most weeks. DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, and Adam Thielen. Love that trio. Not the DK Metcalf part so much, but look, if he produces at a level similar to what he did last year with Geno Smith on the field, it's not going to be horrible. And I love Mike Williams, great upside. Adam Thielen. So through 10 games last season, Adam Thielen was only I want to say close to a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. It was like 14 points behind Justin Jefferson. Then he got hurt. They started getting beat up. This offense is going to be better. This is a good pick, Andrea. Dalton Schultz. Look, even if you think last year was a little fluky, like a little over the top, because all the coverages were being drawn away to Amari Cooper. They had all the wide receivers were intact. So maybe teams focus their coverage a little more on him. Man, I don't mind that pick at all. Melvin Gordon, solid pick. Russell Wilson, a great pick at that point. Tyler Boyd, good high floor. Ronald Jones, maybe the running. I like the cheaper components there at the backfield. Matthew Stafford, can't go wrong there. That's super cheap, but Matthew Stafford price. Let's see, what else do we got? Team 2 and Team 6 looks very similar in builds. Team 2, that's Andrea's. Team 6 is Scott's team. They do. The 3 running back starts. Yes, indeed they do. As a matter of fact, the 3 wide receivers to follow it up. I like this. Tight end. Very similar, actually. Very similar. Nicely done. Let's see. Troy Olsen, I was bummed she got Zeke. I was taking him with my next pick. Damn it, Troy. Troy, what number is your team? Are you 5? You're not Boy San Fuego, are you? I like that team. It's different, but I like it. It's interesting. Hey, Evan. Nice to see you. 3, I think. Justin Jefferson, Mike Evans. Wow, some great teams here. It's been a great evening. I appreciate everyone coming by. Go ahead and waiting longer on tight end and quarterback from now on. Yeah, so, I've been drafting in some super flexes, where I've tried to be a little more patient, including my Scott Fishbowl draft, where I waited longer than I felt I should have, and I still thought I ended up with good starting quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, and I also got Jameis Winston as my starters, and then I added Jared Goff later, and then came right around and added Deshaun Watson at that point once you've got, super flex draft. So we'll do some super flexes here. So you are Troy. I didn't know that was your name. Now I know. Thank you, Troy. I feel better. So yeah, I think it's an interesting team. It's like different than I would have done, but as I examine it, like just because I don't like the individual players, I can see the upside here, especially if Gibson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire come through. And again, Gibson, my blind spot for him notwithstanding, has been super productive the last 2 years, even regardless of the role. Let me ask you this, Troy: are you concerned with Ron Rivera talking about like going back to the got Mahomes, Watson, and Mills? Oh, did you do that in the Scott Fish Bowl? That's nice. That works. I like Davis Mills more than I should probably. But anyhow, so I think that's interesting. So, but the Ron Rivera thing is talking about going back to his Carolina days when he had D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart. I mean, that worries me with Brian Robinson there. And then also you throw in a third guy into the mix. And I guess that's why I'm concerned. But again, the production has been there for Antonio Gibson, so I don't want to holler at that too much. You also got Watson in this draft, so good stuff there. This is great fun. Go ahead and throw in the chat. I mean, I'm trying to find good times. We're trying to find good times to do these. What's the best time for y'all to do these mock drafts? I like doing one after, and we're going to spread them out and try and get you all in as many as we can. Again, if you're not a subscriber to the website, I saw someone signed up, and I appreciate that. Go ahead and jump in. Scott Kobe in his high stake drafts, and he does a lot of those people, and he's very successful in them. He will be in on Davis Mills late as a quarterback too. And here's why. You look at last year. So he comes in, they thrust into the starting role and didn't fare well early on. Took a seat when Tyrod Taylor came back, or Tyrod as he's now called. And then Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. Davis Mills comes in and shows market improvement. Oh, the Ron Rivera thought. So tell me what you think of that, Ron Rivera. Is he going to mix up this backfield more? It's very interesting. But Davis Mills comes back into the starting lineup and showed a great deal of improvement. Pep Hamilton, as the offensive coordinator, has kind of been in on the development of some really good quarterbacks. I like that aspect of it. But also remember about Davis Mills, he only started 11 games in college. He had an injury issue. So he's still progressing. I don't know if he's going to be something, but I think he'll be enough, especially given the price you're paying. And especially like in a super third quarterback, whether you get him, Jared Goff. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think. We're talking to Dwayne McFarland from Pro Football Focus last night, and he mentioned the Detroit Lions offense. I mean, if we think all these players they have, DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hawkinson, players they added, whether it's DJ Chark or Jamerson Williams, once he gets back from his knee injury. So, I mean, if you think all those guys are going to be pretty good, then probably Jared Goff's going to be okay, right? So I'm hoping Ron uses the wide receivers out of the backfield, and he may well, right? Curtis Samuel could be in that mix too in a Debo light role. Hey. If you take Herbert early, he is a perfect guy to pair with Mills. I don't disagree with that. Appreciate everyone coming by. Again, you can subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button if you liked it. You can dislike me as well. I'm okay with that. The algorithm just likes that somebody likes or dislikes me. That's all. But definitely hit the subscribe button here. Go to Football Diehards. Sign up there as well so you get email notifications. But if you subscribe to this channel, you'll get notifications as well. All right, everybody. So happy getting the head. Mike is in. Getting the Henry Chubb combo. Tell me about that. So in a PPR league, obviously these guys aren't great receiving assets, but man, Nick Chubb, I think there's no argument that you have two of the best pure runners in the NFL. I wonder if we're going to see a little more Chubb early on if there is no Deshaun Watson to start the season, which seems like highly likely. So I like that. I like the way the wide receivers built, right, for your team, Mike, with Keenan Allen and giving you that steady, consistent, fairly high and productive. Good night, Andrea. Thanks for coming by. Look forward to seeing you. I won't be around on Saturday for my usual thing. I'm out of town this week, but I'll be back the week after for my Saturday Ask Me Anything, and we'll talk about all these kind of things. But I do like that build with Allen. Then you took some chances with Cooper, Hopkins. Once he's back, you're going to miss a third of the season. Just interesting play there. Hunter Renfrow kind of fills the gap. Jarvis Landry, another guy who might be that kind of high volume or higher volume player that gives you a good floor while you're waiting for some of these guys to come around. Whether it's Cooper, look, Cooper's going to be the wide receiver one for this team no matter who the quarterback is. I'm just going to be feeling much better about it when it's not Jacoby Brissett. DeAndre Hopkins comes back. No reason to believe he won't reassume that number one receiver role. My concerns with Hopkins are a little bit, it seems like Kyler Murray has evolved as a passer to the point where he's progressing through his reads a little more, right? He's not hitting the first, not hitting that first read. So we'll see. Appreciate y'all coming. Thank you, Andrea. We'll talk to you soon. So great draft by everybody. We'll go ahead and call it a night. If you have any questions, keep putting them in, and I'll look for them. I'll read your comments afterwards in case anyone has any thoughts or input on what you'd like to see, what kind of drafts you'd like to see. Maybe do a standard league at some point. Maybe do some super flex drafting here. I think that'd be great. And we'll do them at various times. So again, sign up and watch my Twitter feed. I'm Bob Harris. I'm at Football Diehard. Watch the site's Twitter feed at FF Diehards. We'll tweet these out in advance, so be following along on Twitter, and we'll get you in the fun. That's going to be part of the fun. Also, we're running our best ball championship at the website, so get in on that. It's a large tournament, multiple leagues. I think a minimum of 50 leagues or maximum 50 leagues, I want to say. 12 teams each, prizes galore. So go to the website and check that out. There's a banner right at the top of the page. You'll be playing against me. You'll be playing against Emil Cadlick. You'll be playing against Mike Dempsey and our other staffers as we go forward, as we start putting more and more leagues out there on Underdog. So you get a little kick in from Underdog if you use the promo code Diehards when you sign up. So do that as well. All right. That was fun. Great draft. And I know, Scott, we will get you in that for sure. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We'll do this again. Watch for the notifications. And I'll be back for sure a week from this Saturday for an Ask Me Anything. So we'll see you then. Otherwise, good night, everybody.